Zac Maas.
And I'm Aj Finney.
And this is
Hippie?
Not Hippie. Hey, everybody, welcome to episode 71, actually, of Hippie, Not Hippie.
Yeah.
We have two guests in the studio today. First, sitting to my right, you may notice how closely we look to each other. You may such a striking resemblance. My father, Jim Maas, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah.
And to my right, a striking resemblance. Actually, not that. It's not that far off, actually. Missing the glasses. Maybe the hair's a little straighter, but
Yeah.
comedian Myq Kaplan, everybody. You might recognize Myq from any of stand-up comedy, also his podcast, Broccoli and Ice Cream, and
That's correct.
all around wonderful human being.
Thank you so much for having me. And to my right is a wall. Okay, good. Happy to be here. Thank you.
What's fun is since you don't have headphones on, you couldn't hear that I played crickets. Yeah. But thanks so much for coming, guys. You're in town doing the annual psychedelic.
Show at the Bug.
Hell yeah.
That is the main thing that has brought me out here, and I love it. I love this state and city metropolitan area. However far in you want to zoom.
Have you've done a weekend at Comedy Works before, right?
I've been at the Comedy Works a couple times.
Okay.
And I've been at the Comedy Fort a couple times.
Nice.
And then there's also, I think, 1 million other, like there's the Comedy Lounge and the Underground, and we on the drive over here I saw Rise Comedy. I don't know if I've ever been there, but I like to rise. I shine sometimes as well. I love it. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I came out here like 3 times to do I flew to Denver and then went to Basalt.
Yeah, that's where we were, right? But at the Takal.
Yes, exactly. And then one other time I was at the Fort, and another time I was at the Works, and I recorded an album at the Works. That is just such a beautiful. I mean, it's an amazing room, amazing. I feel the people here. Look, maybe there's listeners in other places as well, and you're cool too. But man, Denver, Boulder, Fort Collins, it's really, you're nailing it.
Yeah, the Taka, I love how the green room has like a window. A little tiny window. Yeah. I like I feel like they should have birds fly out of there or something.
A crow especially. Yeah.
But nice. And Dad, where all of you performed lately?
Everywhere in a town under 400 people.
So, nice.
Most of South Dakota.
But, so we usually like to just kind of open with this question about and whoever can go first, but what's your first memory of encountering a hippie or hippie culture?
Sure. Have you never talked about hippie culture on this podcast before? Okay. Happy to, broach the topic. When you asked that question, the thing that popped into my head first is like the Wonder Years from when I was a kid. And I couldn't point you to an episode or even, I'm sure that it took place. The original Wonder Years took place in the late 60s, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause it was like Vietnam and.
Yeah. And I mean,
so Joe Cocker, you're like, what? What'd you do?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was many years later that I heard the Beatles version of the song, and I'm like, this is different. I was like, hey, why don't you guys play it like Joe Cocker, the original version that I heard? So I think that's my, the only thing that I can point to specifically, other than maybe, Archie Comics as well. I feel like there were some, Archie's been coming out since, I don't know, the 40s probably, give or take a decade. And I read tons of Archie Comics when I was a kid. And some of them, they're reprinting ones from the 60s. And I feel like there's definitely pictures of Archie and the gang in hippie sort of get-ups and such, whether like it was, I feel like they didn't overtly, talk about the war in Archie, but...
Did Archie have a hippie phase where he's like, lost the leather jacket for some leather?
Because it used to remind me of like greasers.
Yeah.
Kind of like the 50s
I mean,
polo shirts.
Now they've had so many different versions of it. Like in some he fights vampires, and in others he grows up and dies. And yeah. Like
really?
That, yeah. The death of Archie is a story from recent years.
Superman versus Archie.
He battles his Archie nemesis.
Yeah. Hold on a second. No, wait a second. Zach, I think that you said something that was different on the surface than it was deep down. And I just want to delve into that a little further. Do you know, I feel like you made a joke, AJ, about Archie meeting Superman. Do you know that there is an Archie versus or featuring the Punisher comic?
What?
And on the cover of it, Punisher is like standing with a gun, like he does, as the chaperone at their prom. That's like I mean, you could make this stuff up, but I don't have to. Somebody else did. They do zombies. They do.
That is wild.
They did, yeah.
He's like, no one spikes the punch.
Jughead, help!
Yeah, so I think that they had all these different sort of alternate realities of, there is no one real continuity of the truth of Archie, or like so many of us. But yeah, so I feel like because of the Archies that came out in the 60s-ish, like there was a hippie vibe. Like, they'd be sitting like blowing dandelion seeds.
I thought you were about to say dabs for a minute.
Yeah, I was like,
Archie invented dabs.
Archie was doing dabs in the stick. Yeah, that's what I thought he was going to say too.
The original. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
That old Archie song, Dandelion Dabs in the park.
I just was starting to say daffodils, and I'm like, no, that's not it. So I was like, da, and I really opened it up for you, and I apologize for misleading everyone. But I feel like then hippies, maybe this will resonate. I feel like as a kid, there were, like, I eventually learned about, from no direct experience, like the existence of hippies, like ninjas, pirates, like robots, like all these different, things that do exist and or have existed throughout history for real. I feel like, I learned about a pirate from this, like, do you guys remember, I don't know how old you are, or if it is the same, how limited a window you need to be, but there was like a drawing contest in probably my Archie Comics. Like
where you did the bear, the turtle?
A bear or a turtle or a very realistic pirate was the third option.
Like at the grocery store?
No, inside. So also, in the back of a comic book, there would be learn how to be an artist, and you would draw. I remember the turtle, like Tippy the turtle or something, and then there was like a bear or something else, and you could choose to draw it and turn it in, and then they would let you know whether you were eligible to join like an art
They'd
school.
Be like, fuck you, kid, you're not talented.
So
I'll add also just sort of the reverse of that is do you guys know Linda Barry? Linda Barry is an artist and comic creator and writer and teacher, and I think it might be I forget, she has a bunch of really amazing books, and I forget which one this is from, but she asked the question, how old do you have to be to make a bad drawing? I think that's beautiful because, like, if you're 2 years old and nobody's like, getting back to the gym, you know what I mean? And also if you're, like 100 years old, and, it's like, oh, yeah, I think it's great that you're doing something. But somewhere in the middle, we're like, it's gotta be good.
Well, my middle school art teacher decided that age was 11.
That makes a lot of sense.
And man, watching this mean old failed artist walk around and tell 11-year-olds that their drawings were bad.
Oh my God.
Wow. That's hilarious.
No,
now,
she was.
I mean,
she was callous for an art teacher.
That's not. I would recommend don't do that.
Yeah, Mrs. McDonald, and she was such a bitch that we.
No bad drawing.
Mrs. Michael McDonald. Well, I'm sorry that you experienced that.
Well, we unified kind of against her.
You
So
created a union.
Yeah, we started just like the class would jointly troll her. And
What do you mean?
Well, like one day we just all pretended we were sleeping, and wouldn't wake up. And she went and was like shaking a student, like, "What's going on? Wake up! Wake up!" And the student just fell out of the chair and pretended, and like,
wow.
So like there was like an organized resistance. So I couldn't. The art class was too big to organize because there's like 35 people. But we had this class with her prime time in the mornings, and that's where we fought back because there's only 10 of us, and we were all on the same page.
That's really something.
But she ended up retiring that year.
Oh,
that was her.
congratulations.
Yeah. So she didn't. But man, like I liked art, and then I got to that class, and I was objectively I could draw decently for an 11-year-old kid or whatever. Like I would trace comics and draw comic book characters and shit like that, and she just would shit on everything. And then there'd be like one kid in the class where she'd be like, "You're great. Everyone else is shit."
Thumbs down.
And that kid was drawing nothing but penises.
If I may, here's another. This is not at all the first experience I've had with the concept of hippies, but when I started doing comedy in my 20s, do you guys know Shane Moss?
Oh, yeah.
Shane, good buddy of mine, super funny comedian. He used to have a joke that he would tell that was arguably about me. I mean, it became more, but...
well, you know what we could do? Every time we see Shane, we could just pretend to be asleep.
Yeah! No. Like, I love Shane, and I love this joke. I'm not going to tell the whole joke, but there's one part of it where he's like... I got this friend. He's a vegan, and he's always trying to get me to try vegan things. Like the other day, he made me a coffee, and I had some, and he said, "Oh, did you like that coffee?" "Yeah? Oh, well, do you know, I actually put soy milk in it. You didn't even notice." And I was like, "Oh, man, I felt all gross, like a hippie." I can tell the rest of the joke if you like. It's on. Get his albums, stream them wherever you find your streaming. Would you like to hear? I mean, it can be a what is it? To be continued. Like a drug dealer model of like I give you the setup and you got to pay for the punchline. Put it in a Patreon. But here it is. You can edit this out if you want.
No, the last time I saw Shane, we ordered. It was in Alabama, and we did a show in Huntsville together, and we ordered this pizza afterwards at this bar that had so much cheese on it that after I took a bite, I had to go out to my car and get fiber and bring it in to the bar, and I put it in my beer.
Wow.
Fiber beer?
Yeah, it was that much cheese. It was fucking insane. But yeah, fun.
Now, where did you grow up in and around Massachusetts?
I went to college there. I grew up in New Jersey in a few different places, and then when I turned 18, went to Brandeis University, which is like 20 minutes outside of Boston, for my undergrad, and then I went to grad school at Boston University, which is 0 minutes into Boston.
Yeah,
it's in Boston. The name is Boston University.
Didn't Rachel go there?
Yes.
Yeah, my sister went there for
Boston
her
University.
When was she there?
for her graduate. 5.
Well, right before she's about to graduate with a master's degree, right before the pandemic.
Oh,
So she came back for spring break and never went back there. Never graduated, in person. So, yeah.
So what she must have started maybe around 16, 17? Is that right?
Well,
no, not the age, like 20. So you were looking at me like, where's the joke? And I was like,
I would say
year.
I would say it was like 2018.
okay. Because that's when she was going there for her master's?
Yeah, 2018, 2019 maybe.
Okay.
So
Let me see. I was there. I'm 45 years old now, and was in college in my 20s. So we didn't go together. Yeah.
Did you? What was your degree in?
At BU, I got a master's in linguistics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I've never heard it. Never heard of it, and don't know what it is. Yeah. It's the study of languages.
Yeah. What's your favorite language?
I love speaking English. That's man, it's like I do it all the time, like for a living.
Are you fluent in multiple languages?
I'm fluent in 0 other languages.
Okay.
Here's one of the first jokes I ever wrote. I was in grad school and I was starting out doing comedy when I was like 24. And I was like, because people always do ask, like, if you study languages, what languages do you study? I'm like, I study them all. I speak none. I think one. But
I don't study the way they sound or spell.
I can speak.
Study the way they feel.
I can speak Hebrew and not understand it. That's true. That's many secular Jewish children in America. We learn how to read Hebrew and not what it means. But so I can do that with a lot of languages. I can read them and weep. And here's the final that joke. Ooh, you hit a button and I'm not listening to headphones.
The weird part is the timing was perfect. Though.
When you said that, I was thinking CIA.
Well,
You're going to rip your face off, and you're really Tom Cruise here.
absolutely. Now, when I rip my face off, it's both Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. One half of each. But anyway.
Total face off.
The moment we've all been waiting for. The joke that is about the question you asked me. I don't speak other languages, but I do a lot of English to English translation. And then I give examples of what that can mean. And listen to, it's not on any albums because it was when I was good.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to give us some examples.
Oh, I'll give you one example. Okay, fine. You pulled it out of me. Here's my mom's favorite. I don't know. Do you ever tell a parent a joke and then they tell it to you for 20 years? Well, that's
No.
Here's an English to English translation. So you're not like me. That's great. It's great for comedy when the audience is either, hey, are you like me? Yes or no, because yes is relatable and no is interesting for other reasons. So whatever you're like, you can do comedy. Boom! Whatever it was, I appreciate it. All right. So here's an example. So sometimes when people say the English phrase on the phone, "Oh, I'm gonna have to let you go," that's English for I need to go. That is 100%. And so now every time on the phone, when I'm getting off the phone with my mom, she'll be like, I'll let you go. I gotta let you go. And she's like, she's acting out the character in my bed, and it's very cute and adorable.
And you're like, you're fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to let you go too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh, I understand. That makes a lot of sense. I was like, truly, I thank you for explaining what you meant. I'm like, man, what a bananas turn this one is taking. Yeah, I fire my mom, she fires me, whatever it is. Words mean other things. You got me.
Oh, I just had to explain it for my dad.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I'm a little behind.
Yeah, dads classically never understand jokes. There's no genre associated.
So, how about you, Dad? What's your first memory of hippies?
Well, I think it was 1968 in Los Angeles, California.
Whoa.
And my family decided we were going to go downtown L.A. and see if we could find some hippies.
Was this when your family drove out there in the truck with just boards in the back for you guys to sit on?
No, we didn't do long trips like that. Short trips. Short trips to Denver, we had the board in the back where we would all sit.
Which is like a 10-hour drive.
Yeah. 1968 on California, that would have been, outside of San Francisco, you're still down, but Southern California would have been prime hippie spot.
It was.
Because that was Summer of Love coming up in about a year, right? 1969 was the end of it.
And how old were you?
I was like 12. So, just thinking about it, I guess my family went out hippie hunting. Because
probably
it was all
gathering.
It was all about walking down the street and seeing if we could spot a hippie.
Yeah.
And we went into this store. I don't even remember what they were selling, but it might have been a record shop or something. And all of a sudden, a hippie.
It's a good place to hunt for them.
Yeah.
And, it was just like, wow, I think that's a hippie. And my parents are saying, don't get too close.
Wow.
Yeah, I think they kind of smell. So, stay kind of a ways. I don't know what the fear was, but as I got close, I realized, oh, okay, that is a real hippie then. And very very harmless, but tall, long hair, beard.
Bright? Like bright colors, beads?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but obviously, truly, I hadn't probably taken a shower for quite a long time. But so that was my experience, actually, a real live hippie, and
Wow.
and not many people experienced that. At least when I went back to my hometown.
Not us here either.
Yeah. Now in the schoolyard where all the kids like, tell us about the hippie.
Yeah. We've just been learning from Archie books.
I have two other examples that have sprung to mind. One is when I was like 15, I was at summer camp and we took a trip. We were in Connecticut and we took a trip to Boston. And we went to, there's this, I don't know if you guys have been to, in Harvard Square, there's a little mall called The Garage, and they have like, some restaurants and some stores. And a couple of the stores were like, I don't know, there was lots of like beaded things and like there's tattoo parlors. And so like, it was like, I think, very hippie friendly. And like one of the stores, I forget if it was in that place or another, but nearby, they had these little like rocks that were sort of smoothed out and had like words written on them like love and heart. And I remember like, maybe I'm going to get one of these that says love or heart. And a friend of mine was like, I've got rocks in my backyard you can write love or heart on. And I was like, that'll make, that makes a little more sense. But so I feel like the folks that worked there were very hippie adjacent as well. And there's the only other example. I think the first hippie I learned about was Jesus. He long-haired peacenik. Heard about him pretty early on. Yeah, absolutely. Didn't shower as regularly as one might today.
Yeah. Well, speaking of rocks, are you a collector of crystals? Do you believe that rocks have powers by chance, or?
I'm so glad that you asked me this question. No. Okay, next question. No.
He's like,
Here's the thing is, so my girlfriend, who is the best, Rini, like she and I will talk about these things sometimes, and she is like a recovering astrology, participator, like in a way that like it was a large part of her life for a long time. And she eventually, has come to a place that I think she's like I think she's going to write a book or like do a TED Talk. Like she has like a lot of insider information, from like truly like, learning all about the experiences of it. I know this is like crystal adjacent, where we'll get to specifically crystals, but she, a thing that does happen, whether with things that you believe in, is like clearly like confirmation bias or the power of positive thinking or like the placebo effect. Like my grandmother used to be a nurse when she was alive, and now that she's dead, maybe she still is. But when she was a living nurse, she worked at a dermatologist's office, and when children would come in, and just want to be upfront about this. This is a thing that I say on stage as well, but only because it's a thing from my real life. So you heard it here, first or second. But one of those, maybe third. Who can even say? Maybe I've said it on other podcasts. But like kids would come in with warts, and my grandmother, an atheist, would say to them, I would like to purchase your wart from you. And she'd give them a quarter. And she'd say, go home tonight, and in the morning, the wart will be gone. And it would. That's like, that would work.
That's witchcraft.
Yeah, I mean, she didn't believe in God. She was a witch. And she was anti on the other side. I mean, but that is a thing that can happen because, our body and our mind, they are connected. And if there's so many empirical studies showing that if you believe that something's going to work, then the placebo effect has positive results. And so in that respect, I do believe that if you have crystals and you're like, this is my one that makes me feel confident, this is my one that makes me feel brave, this is my one that, makes me feel lucky, whatever.
Jeez, what do you read my diary?
Yes. And love AJ. And so I really feel like, I used to be a hardcore, like, kind of asshole atheist type, I would say.
Yeah, me too. It sucks.
I mean, it doesn't feel it feel like the same way it probably feels bad if a religious person is like, you're going to hell. Like that sounds like it feels hellish to have that idea in your head and to be expressing that, sort of harmful, potentially hateful concept. Like if you are like, I hate, that's bad, like that's in you. And so I feel like it's hard to get out of this sort of, black and white, like I'm a recovering like argumentaholic, I say. And like I used to online with people be like, hey, somebody, that, I don't know, like the meme or the cartoon that's like, I can't go to sleep because there's somewhere out there right now, there's somebody being wrong on the internet, and I'll post things sometimes that people disagree with, and I'll be like, well, let me tell you why I'm going to waste my life for the next several days thinking about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, do you guys know Ryan Singer?
Yes.
Oh, very well.
Love Ryan Singer. And here's a story that I think I've told him, that one time we had this, he was like, this is like a caricature of the story now, but he was like, I was driving and I was listening to a song, and then I saw a bumper sticker with the lyrics of that song just 4 days later. And I was like, wow, that would have been incredible if it was at that moment, you know what I mean? I'm like, wow, that's like 4 days off from a miracle, and like, but zooming in or out, like, I'm like, well, who do I want to be? The guy who finds miracles? I'm like, I'll round that one up to a miracle. Absolutely. Why not feel joy and delight and wonder in the things that, as long as your beliefs aren't hurting anyone, like, why not feel them and believe them? And, they say, think you can, think you can't. Either way, you'll be right. Like, it's like, there's so many things in life that are self-fulfilling prophecies.
In case this was actually some sort of magic power that's maybe hereditary, would you like to purchase my warts?
Yeah, man, I'll give you $1 after.
Inflation.
Yeah, I'll buy 4 of them. For the price of whatever.
Oh, you gotta buy them all.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, then we'll have to work out a deal. But yeah, I mean,
I love, though, I will say this about Ryan. Ryan gets pretty far out there. I love him to death. I love his grounding of the thought of, do I believe all this fully? I'm not sure. But I do think it's more fun to believe in things as opposed to just, oppose it, I
his
guess.
podcast is called Supernatural. It's fun and fascinating. I remember one time we were having a conversation where he talked about like someone, I think, in his life being a shapeshifter. Like, and at the time I was like, I don't believe in shapeshifters. But then also I'm like, we're literally all shifting shape all of the time.
Right.
Like what I look like, I have this, beard right now that I didn't have as a baby,
Yeah.
Like we're all slow motion shapeshifters. Like I feel like I'm like a, slow, I like to think of not shaving as becoming a slow motion werewolf. And
So you were kidding when you said that you have John Travolta and Nicolas Cage on your
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I really thought it was clear that was...
Fuck, all right.
Yeah, my mistake. I do like people to know what is as true as possible. Here's the thing about... Can I tell you a thing about the truth?
Yes.
So I have a buddy named Gus who is a practicing Buddhist. And so I've been learning a lot about Buddhism from him. And it's fascinating.
What kind of Buddhism?
He is in the Gelug school of Buddhism. So it's sort of like, I would say, if not the opposite, but it's like on the other, like Zen Buddhism is all about like, here's a koan. Maybe you can, if it does the thing that a koan could do, like you could attain instant enlightenment, like in a moment, be like, oh, I see everything clearly because my mind has done this thing. Like that's sort of the nature. My layperson's understanding of Zen Buddhism is that it can happen in an instant. And the Gelug school is like, hey, like the Buddha said there's like 84,000 like pieces of advice, and there's the Eightfold Path, and there's the Four Noble Truths, and like it's all written down now. It wasn't before, but like people have come up with a list of like, if you want to live your life with less suffering and more joy, here are
84,000 things.
Exactly. And so there was a Zen master that was asked once, or a Buddhist teacher that was asked, like, hey, can you narrow it down? Like, is there any way you can give it to us in like one? And then I think it might have been Suzuki Roshi who said, yes, everything changes. And then he leaves before any follow-up questions could happen. But
I always thought with Buddhism, the funny thing with the Four Noble Truths, the fourth truth
is the
Eightfold Path.
Yes.
And I was like, this is starting to feel like a pyramid scheme.
They do have a lot of lists within lists, but also you don't have to pay any money for this pyramid scheme. Right. It's all free.
So yeah, Nietzsche and like Japanese style Buddhism, it's like they're just like, if you chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo or whatever, and it's like just the summary of all of that.
Sure.
Yeah. So you have the one thing.
It's like, that's all you need?
It's like, you know, like the Lotus Sutra or whatever that encompasses all this shit or whatever. But it's like, you know, let's just make it one sentence you chant over and over and over again. And
yeah, there's this other teacher, I forget, maybe Ryokan, who, like, I forget the exact quote, but it's like, you know, better than all the books that you could ever read is just like just remember this one thing, and it's and I forget, but no, it's to know your mind as it is right now, and because we have so many things that we pile on top, like so many expectations and anxieties and ideas about the future and wishes, and you know, everything is literally every moment, you know, different than it was a moment before. Everything's a surprise. So the thing about the truth that Gus told me in the Buddhist paradigm that I understand that he understands is, so here's a thing. The sun rises in the east. True, right? That sounds true in some definitions of the truth. Yeah, sun rises in the east. And then, okay, but also there's another true thing that could be like, actually, the sun doesn't rise at all. The sun stays still, and the earth rotates around it. That's true. The sun doesn't move. The earth moves around the sun. That's true as well. But then, another third thing that could be true, and there'll only be four things. The third thing that could be true, and none of them are noble. These are not the noble truths. Yeah, these are the ignoble truths, four of many. But the third thing that could be true is the sun actually, it doesn't stand still. It's actually part of a galaxy that is hurtling through space constantly all the time as well. So the idea that it's standing still, it's constantly in motion, not even with respect to the Earth. And then here's the fourth thing is, this isn't true. The sun rises in the west. So any of the first three things are true depending on your framework and your definitions, but it doesn't mean that anything is true, because there are things that can still be false, you know, in any framework, like the sun rises in the west. And Gus told me, he's like, basically, nothing can be truer than the sun rises in the east. Like, there's anything that's true is only true in some context that exists like that. Like, today is Friday. True today, not true tomorrow, you know?
So it comes down, it's all about perception.
That's one way to perceive it, for sure.
Yeah. I always felt like with a lot of spiritual teachers and stuff like that, I mean, you go back to Ram Dass and
I do.
Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah. Bangers.
Yeah, I mean, all these guys.
Pema Chodron.
Yeah.
Alive Now, Byron Katie, I really like.
Yeah. What was it? Not Thich Nhat Hanh. Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche.
Oh, yeah. The bad news is we're all hurtling through space with no parachute. The good news is there's no ground.
Right. All of them, when you start to break it down, have that small thing that Ram Dass called his biggest book, which was Be Here Now. And everything seems to talk about being in the moment. Like with Buddhism, it always seemed like when you broke it down, it was like, oh, the anxiety is if you're trying to live in the future and you're always worried about what you should be doing or what you could be doing. And then depression follows when you're living in the past. If you're like, oh, I wish I would have done this. You can't change either of those things.
No, because neither of them.
Unless your grandmother was to give me a quarter.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, but neither of those things are real. Like there's no time that isn't now. So thinking about, I mean, and it doesn't mean that you can't plan for what we conceive of as the future, and that'll just be a different now. But I remember doing like an interview like online during the lockdown phase of the pandemic, and that was like the first time that somebody asked me a question. I mean, whenever anybody asks, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, where do you see your career in 5 years? I'm like, in February of 2020, I was completely off about where I'd be in March of 2020. Like, it's, a kind of arrogance to be like, I'm going to do these things. Like we are, in the words, in like sort of the parlance of Thich Nhat Hanh, we're all like interconnected. We are all interbeing. We inter-are. Like, none of us could exist without our parents. A flower can't exist without a bee, or dirt or rain, nothing. It's everything is interdependent.
Yeah,
that's
No.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that is always.
Yeah, that's the sun rises in the east.
And I want to get Alan Watts. That was another one I forgot to bring up.
Course.
I just want to make sure I mention him.
I've listened to almost like 100 hours of Alan Watts in the past couple years because his talks are on the Waking Up app, and I like them.
What a voice, too. I mean, what a
fun to listen to.
Wild drunk, I heard.
That sounds right.
How
about you, Dad? Rocks?
Well, I grew up on a farm.
I want to say this might be the biggest duration we've had in the show. It's so great.
That's one of my favorite things. It feels
the whole show's like meditating, but it's like when you realize you're off the path, then just get back to it.
Yeah. So I grew up in a farm, and my least favorite thing to do was in the spring before you planted, you had to go out and pick rocks. And it was a miserable job. So, that's my rock thing.
Did South Dakota have like quartz deposits or other precious gems and stuff like that in
the Black Hills?
Black Hills.
But he was in the eastern part.
South Dakota. You just had a lot of big rocks that you had to lift up and dig out from under the ground and throw on a flatbed and haul them out. And the next year, they all somehow grew back.
Gotcha. So you didn't grow up
so much for impermanence.
Like in and around the Black Hills? Were you? Where did you grow up?
In eastern South Dakota.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like you're getting closer towards like the Sioux Falls area, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he grew up in Minnow, South Dakota.
Oh, big fish?
M-E. Men. Not men.
Men? Oh.
Yeah.
I've sincere question.
No men.
I might have zoned out for a moment. Did you say that every year the rocks grew back?
It's
I just want to make sure that
It's a figure of speech.
Yeah.
I don't know where they came from, but every year they were there again. Well, you had to pick them every year.
I imagine it was just like tilling the soil and just natural displacement, like loosening it up top would create like the way for them to kind of work their way closer to the surface. And then when you run the plow through again, it catches some edges and pulls some of them further up.
Or it was a part of the whole mating process that we contributed to make rocks thrive.
That would make sense, though, because I know, like, if you go rock hounding or if you're looking for quartz or diamonds or something like that in Arkansas, the best day to dig is the day after a rain. Because for some reason, as the water gets underneath it, it starts to push the rocks up.
Well, there's two different kinds. That one sounds fun. The one I did wasn't fun.
Yeah, yours was labor.
Well, it was labor, child labor.
The tectonic plates move what? Something like an eighth of an inch a year or something?
Sounds like you know more than us.
I know they're moving.
Yeah.
Moving, shaking.
It's slow.
Nothing's not. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, there's earthquake in where you grew up.
I was there. I was in New York City, and my girlfriend and I felt like a rumbling as if there were a train directly under us, and there wasn't. I was like, did they put a train? And then we found out.
They were like, that'd be great if we had a train this close.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a train pretty close, but not, a little too close. Yeah. But the Earth is quaking.
So train was your immediate thought.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the building's coming down or
no, it didn't. Nothing that serious.
No, my buddy has really bad slumlords there, and he's like, everyone in our building thought that they had hit something structural and that the whole building was coming, like they're doing construction right now, and he's like, they thought they were done. But yeah,
fracking.
Mike, do you own any tie-dye at all?
I don't own tie-dye specifically, other than, actually, okay, two things.
I was hoping you'd say yes, but it's different shades of black.
Yeah, like the way they have different camouflage colors, for when you're hiding out among zebras. I'm doing the show that I'm doing tonight, the psychedelic comedy show. I do have a very colorful shirt that is hanging in my car. It is not tie-dye, but it is like, it is rainbow colored. I love colorful things. Many of my clothing items are only one of the many colors. But the other thing, we do have a bag, I always forget what kind. I only recently learned what a tote bag is. Was picturing a duffel bag for many years of my life. But I think this is a tote bag that my girlfriend got at a yoga studio, or we went to a sound bath or something, or some kind of thing where people believe in the power of rocks. And this rocks, and if this class is a rockin'. I'm sorry, let's talk about rocks again. What do you think, Dad? But you're all of our dads. Anyway, so we have a tote from that place that is tie-dyed-ish, and it says trust on it. And then a friend of mine was like, hey, actually, I have a bunch of bags growing in my backyard. You could just wrote trust on that. But, and I was like, I don't trust you on that one. But yeah, it's a pretty cool bag.
Gotcha. But your podcast, you've got art from Ramin
Nazer,
right?
Yes, he has done the logos for both of my active podcasts, which are Broccoli and Ice Cream and The Faucet. He has done a recent headshot for me, which was a Mindy Tucker photo on the left, and he makes the my face a rainbow on the right. And he also did the album cover for Live in Between Albums, and No Kidding. And we also have a book together of jokes that I've written that he has illustrated called Heart Brain Art Train, and he's very colorful.
Where can people find those?
They can. So those books are at reminisces.com, and also Myq Kaplan, spelled the weird way I spell Myq Kaplan, MyqKaplan.com. Those I love them. They're at my live shows too. So, but yeah, it's a real exciting thing to just write jokes and then have a buddy who's a brilliant illustrator, create beautiful art that I feel enhances, if he just did the bare minimum to be that's what you said, Dayenu, would have been enough. But some of them, I'm like, man, this was a bad joke, and it's an amazing
piece of art.
Yeah, 100%. So, but yeah, he is very rainbow psychedelic, present.
Yeah, I would say outside of the Aleister Crowley Toth deck that I have, I could spend the rest of my life trying to decode. Mm-hmm. Ramin's Rainbow Brain Skull stamped tarot deck that he put out the artwork is absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, follow Ramin. He gets it.
Do you own any tie-dye, Daddy Moss?
I do not. Zero.
Nah, none came up from the ground while you were plowing?
No, I don't think I bought anything in 1968. It's a while back, so
yeah, and it's banned in South Dakota.
Oh,
so
what about
you can go to prison?
What about Jim? What about beads or jewelry, anything like that? Turquoise.
Oh yes, yeah. Back in the 70s, a little turquoise with some little shells around your,
a little shell necklace and some turquoise.
You'd rock you had a turquoise necklace?
I've got a picture of it. Never seen it. I'll have to show it to you sometime.
Yeah.
I'd also like to just plug briefly. My friend Nadia Pinder is a comedian who also has a tie-dye business. She is, I believe, in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, or was once, and it's called Sty-Dyed. Okay. And it's great. She's great. She's funny, and there's tie-dye out there. So if you're looking for tie-dye in Brooklyn, that's where to go.
Does she sell stuff online?
I'm sure she does.
Okay.
Nope.
I mean, yeah, gotta go.
Be there.
Yeah, into her sink.
Yeah.
What about you? Beads, jewelry, turquoise, anything?
Definitely some jewelry. I feel like a Buddhist monk once was handing out, the thing sort of in the style of a young hip hop aspiring star on the street who's like, here, take my CD.
Like a backpack Buddhist.
Yeah. I've gotten several Buddhist books from people at like dead shows they just go, oh, these people get it. You want a book? You want a book? And then they try to get money, and I go, I don't have any money. And they're like, well, you can only have one of the books.
Yeah. I bought a bracelet, like a sort of like prayer beads.
Yeah.
And I like that. I don't wear tons of jewelry, but I like it. I've, a couple knickknacks here and there. This is, I feel like, maybe only, again, hippie adjacent, but to what we're talking about. But I've done assorted ayahuasca ceremonies over the years, and those, what's that?
Where did you do them?
I did a week in Peru with a Peruvian guide, and that Peruvian guide also would come to America or was living in the States for a while, and so many ceremonies in like a yoga studio in Brooklyn or other places around the city, also LA and Boston.
Did you notice a big difference between when you were actually in Peru and then you were doing it kind of in basically just a city location?
I'll tell you this. No, I noticed nothing. But I'll keep talking as well. The guide, one time I remember somebody like asked him a question afterwards. They said, we were in New York, and he said, is it better to do it in Peru, in the jungle, surrounded by nature, like the source of it all? And the guide said, he's like, no, because the experience happens in your consciousness, as long as, there have been times where there have been the sounds of the city, but usually the places I've done it are like a quiet space, with mindfully chosen so that you can hear the guide chanting or singing, you can hear whatever instruments are playing, and then you can hear your own, inner experience, which also there have been times when there are people that are like, I was making lots of noise right next to you, and I'm like, I knew when I'm in it, sometimes there's it is not important at all what is happening outside of my own body, mind, and or spirit. And I think specifically he said also doing it, if you do it in the jungle for the first time, he's like, the jungle can be so loud as to be distracting as well. So, I mean.
Yeah, there's a lot of critters out there.
There are.
Oh, God, big snakes.
Oh, yeah. And speaking of snakes, that's why I brought this up, is sometimes, everybody sees and experiences differently, under the influence of this substance. And we can't know what it's like for anybody else, but a lot of people do report sort of commonalities, of theme. And there's sometimes people get a lot of snake imagery, sometimes. And so they've said actually in Peruvian culture, in Peruvian lore, and maybe not only Peruvian, but at least in there, that there's so you can sometimes be experiencing the realm of the snake, the realm of the cat, and the realm of the condor, and the cat's like a jaguar. And so sometimes you're, maybe under the influence of any psychedelics or any sort of ceremonial entheogen, perhaps, you might be like, oh, this is sort of heavenly, flying through the heavenly realm as represented by the condor. And sometimes it's very much oh, this is here. This is the earthly, this mid-realm.
Which is the jaguar.
Yeah, the jaguar. And then sometimes you're like, oh boy, a lot of snakes.
Oh, I've been in the snake realm.
And so I think when I was in Peru, I purchased this little metal sculpture, fits in the palm of my hand, and it's a condor on top of a jaguar on top of a snake.
Oh, okay.
So that's pretty sweet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's the longest you've ever gone without taking a shower?
That's a great question. I think today I took one, and I hadn't taken one since I got to Denver on Tuesday, so that was 3 days. I think when I was in Peru for a week, I think they did have showers, so I probably haven't gone. I've probably gone less than a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, AJ? We've never done this question before.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Marciana and I were talking about this. Even with festivals, 5 days might be the max for me. And even with that, there might be a dunking in a lake or something like that. Because even though I feel like I identify kind of as a hippie,
we said shower, not
clean.
lake dunk.
Yeah. Because I get, in the summer, once I get sweat and the sweat dries, I feel suffocated.
I mean, for sure, if you were trying to bear down on this question and be like, so are you a hippie? How often have you showered? Look, I dunk in the lake every day. I'm no hippie. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think at festivals, waiting for a shower or something like that, even then I'd still wet wipe, like with pads or something like that.
With tie-dyed wet wipes,
Yeah.
of course, yes.
Yeah, so maybe 5 days would be the max.
Yeah, I think similar.
Daddy Moss.
Well, I grew up in a time when we didn't have showers. So there were 7 of us and 1 bathtub.
Wow.
So
It was crowded.
That's a big tub.
Wow.
So if you could sneak out of the line when it was that weekly time to take a bath, sometimes 2-3 weeks.
Whoa.
So
We got a new record.
What a surprise ending for like no tie-dye, no beads and such or what have you. But never, no, nothing. But like
I've never had a bath.
Yeah, you're the hippiest of us all.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I take a shower every day.
Yeah. What about you, Zach?
I think the longest I went was like when I was hitchhiking north of San Francisco. I think I went 10 days
Okay.
or so, and man,
It starts to feel like you can feel it.
And I had 2 pairs of socks when I left, and when you're trying to put on a pair of socks that you've worn for 6 days in a row.
They got 2 sides.
Oh yeah, no, you've reversed them, you've re-reversed them, you've gotten them wet in a creek and thrown them on a fucking rock to dry, you
Yeah.
know. But like, man, that's where it really gets, because they're just hard.
Yeah.
They get to a point where they're like
Crust
hard
up.
as fuck, where you could like hit something with them. You know, it's like a paddle.
I only had 1 pair of socks growing up.
Wow.
Whoa.
Both hills, both ways?
No, I'm just kidding.
Uphill? Okay.
How many did you have?
Oh, who knows? Not many.
Yeah.
You didn't have a lot.
I
you
had
know?
3 socks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 socks.
And only 2 feet, so.
Yeah.
3 socks and 1 pair of 3-legged jeans, and
Yeah.
that was it.
Never get a full clean pair on.
Yeah.
Just only 1 clean foot at a
Now
time.
I know what that 3rd sock was doing. Man, yeah, you know what I remember because we were in the Pacific Northwest, and I think that's where I hit my 5-day mark. We were camping, and you don't realize it. Like, you have no idea what you smell like until you take the clothes off, put them somewhere, shower, and then open that bag up again later, and you go, whoa, that's why they were looking at me weird when I went in the restaurant.
Where you showered. Yeah.
Where I showered, yeah.
Did you ever play any sports?
Yeah, I've played a few sports, but tennis is the main one. So the sport of
Okay.
hippies. Andre Agassi and his long hair, you know.
Yeah.
My family.
Macaro and his inability to be aggressive.
Classic, yeah, the Zenist guy. Yeah, my family, my parents both like played tennis. We were a tennis family. We'd go to the U.S. Open. I played tennis in high school. Ping
Are you
pong.
still a fan?
I don't follow it. I read the news, and sometimes the news includes tennis information.
Yeah.
And I don't shy away. I don't avert my eyes. But,
You're like, ooh, little trip down memory lane.
yeah, but I guess I will say because of my upbringing care a little more. Like, I'll pay a little more. I'm like, oh, tennis, okay, and then turn the page. Yeah, ping pong I'd say is more my speed these days.
You're not a pickleballer.
I played pickleball once with Shane Moss, who's a big pickleballer. He loves it, and it's fun. It's fun, absolutely.
Who won?
We were playing for fun, so we all won. It's not always about winning.
Hippie. Okay. Dad?
Sports.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I wasn't big into sports. I grew up in a dairy farm, so you milk cows twice a day, and that was right when you had practice for any kind of sports. So you just kind of like, do I get to go and practice and play sports, or stay home and milk cows? And
Well, your sport wasn't it milk tasting?
Well, for the future farmers of America, I guess.
FFA.
Yeah,
FFA. I told the story a little bit of you tasting milk in Kansas City. But yeah, so tell me how the milk tasting worked.
Competitive.
Milk tasting.
It was competition. So you'd have, like 10 or 12 different vials of milk that some might have a little garlic in, onion, different kinds of flavors. And then you just take a little taste and write down which one you thought it was. And then rancid, of course, you didn't have to taste. You just smelled it and it bought
So I have a question. This milk that you're tasting, they added ingredients, or is this what cow had been?
No.
Okay.
We didn't feed the cow a bunch of garlic.
Okay.
Onions.
Nice.
It's just
to get
added
the cow.
in there,
Listen to the
and it would
band
be
Rancid.
very mild, so you could just barely taste it, and then you'd have local competitions and the state competition, and we won the states. So then you go to the nationals in Kansas City, and
Which is the U.S. Open of milk tasting.
I understand. I'll say this too. I went to a summer camp growing up, which was. Do you guys know Maria Montessori of Montessori schools, which are?
I don't know her, but I've
Yeah. She's not alive anymore.
of her.
Yeah. So the man who founded my summer camp in the 40s, Ernst Bulova, and his wife Ilse. Ernst had studied with Maria Montessori, and my understanding of the idea of a Montessori school is that kids choose what they study, and so that was the way the camp worked as well. Like there were 9 to 12 and 2 to 6; those were shop hours, and like you just couldn't do nothing, but you can go wherever you want. You could go to the painting studio, pottery. There was glass blowing. You could be in, performing arts, theater, dance, music, clown shop they had, which was improv and sketch. And then like when I was an adult, I would teach stand up. And so you just do whatever you want during those times. And
so you went there all through childhood and then taught there as an adult?
I did, from when I was 11, certainly straight on into my 20s, and I still go back sometimes.
Oh, you still do?
There have been, I think, maybe 1 or 2 years in the past, 35 years that I didn't go at all. And more recently, I would go for like a day or two here, a day or two there, or like a week maybe. But I went 2 months straight for like over like a decade and a half. And it's a performing and creative arts camp, so it's like artsy kids, and so there are sports there, but like because of the clientele, I was good at sports there. And, it's where I learned how to play ping pong and got, decent for somebody who's not a professional ping pong player. And they had a softball league that we called the Watermelon League for reasons that are, I still have not, maybe the winner got to eat watermelon. I don't know. But
is it a real big ball?
It is a softball. It's a softball's bigger than a, whatever. But, I played softball and like ultimate frisbee there. So like, arts camp sports, I feel like maybe cancel each other out, but I don't want to answer your questions in a just a surface way. I'd like to be here for hours.
That reminds me a lot of Naropa.
Oh, sure.
You ever killed an animal?
Haven't. I mean, a bug. Yes, I'm sure, and I apologize.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So when you kill a bug, do you ever have remorse right afterwards?
Oh, I mean, I do my best to not kill any bugs these days, and the times that I do, I absolutely feel
I move them
remorse.
outside and let the elements kill them.
Yeah.
I mean, I do my best to, if there's bugs in my home, to remove them.
I had a real weird situation this week where a tent came back to REI where I work, and I shook it out, and after I was going through to clean it, there was a caterpillar, and I knew the caterpillar had come from Texas. So, and I don't know if it was invasive. So I didn't want to kill it, so I scooped it up and I put it on a thing, and then other people came down and they're like, "We should put it outside." And I was like, "That thing's from Texas," and they're like, "Oh."
Did you do some research?
No, I let it just continue to run its last days throughout the shop.
Oh, did it die in the shop?
I don't know. I let it.
There's a cocoon somewhere.
It could be, and then it'll pop off, and it'll probably have a green vest on.
And everything is bigger in Texas, so there's going to be a massive, like Mothra style butterfly.
We're not going to be able to get it out, but we really didn't know what to do. And one girl was like, "I don't know if it's invasive. If it's invasive, we don't want to put it out there." And I was like, We're just going to leave
Well,
it
we
a
got to
shot.
tell the news that Texas has sent us 40,000 immigrants and one caterpillar.
Says 40,001.
Yeah, there we go. So much for beetle kill.
Well, we're about at an hour here.
Some rapid fire. Do you wear sandals at all? How do you feel about being barefooted?
I'm usually barefoot in my house or on grass. Not a big fan of sand. I think I have one pair of sandals that are like, shower shoes for if I'm traveling. But mostly I wear my girlfriend's
Underwear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah?
Wait a second. What did you say?
Wait, what? Okay.
Flip flops, sandals. I know.
I just like walking around with socks on.
Okay.
Good enough for me, man.
Yeah.
Well, you lucky.
Even if I go outside.
So
I have my
you
socks on.
you got me a pair of Birkenstocks because you were really into them. You're like, you got it. These are the best sandals ever. You got to have them. Do you still wear Birkenstocks?
No, but I still have that pair if you want them.
No, I do not.
Just waiting to turn somebody on to it, huh?
Hard for me to throw
Now-
things away.
Birkin socks. You're talking.
Yeah. Well, when you only grow up with one pair, you really
A
gotta
Birkin
keep-
sock. It'd be like a slip-on sock, but it'd have the cork insole for a little bit of support.
I think you came up with something there.
Well, I can't take all of it unless we delete he said that. Then I'm a millionaire.
Guns or flowers?
Flowers.
Flowers.
Okay.
I think I tweeted once, that I think it goes roses, Guns N' Roses, guns for me. I mean, roses and Guns N' Roses are pretty close. I like them both.
Yeah, they say every gun has a thorn. That's a different band. What about music festivals or jam bands?
I do like music festivals. I don't go to many, but actually, the summer camp that I went to, I was a music counselor, and so from when I was like 16, as a junior counselor onward for maybe five to 10 years, we would go many summers to the Falcon Ridge Folk Festival, where the year before I went, some friends of mine saw Ani DeFranco for the first time, probably like 1995.
Oh, when she had dreadlocks.
Yeah, maybe 94, and then she's like one of my favorite.
You know the years she had
She might have.
AJ has a thing for
I'm
women
very
with dreadlocks.
embarrassed right now.
He goes, ooh, the year she had dread. Like, you creep.
Could have been a shaved head too. One never knows, but that's very funny.
I just know that she had dreadlocks early on in her career.
He gets excited.
For sure. But so that festival was real cool. There were some people. I actually just re-met a folk singer from the Boston area who I saw there like in the 90s, and we were performing on a cruise ship together in 2020, right before the pandemic began in March 2020. And his name is Vance Gilbert, and his music is incredible. And another musician I saw there named Dan Byrne, who became one of my favorites, did some of the music for Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Walk hard.
And so music festivals. I mean, my parents were musicians and music teachers when I was growing up. And
Did they have bands or?
They play not in the kind they played in
Like big bands?
They played in
Yeah.
marching bands. They played in like the state opera. They played in the pit orchestra for musicals.
Okay, so they were classical.
They were classically trained musicians. Yes.
What instruments?
My dad, growing up, I feel like he taught, and his main instruments were like clarinet, saxophone, and flute. And he was a high school band director. And my mom taught elementary music, and her main instruments were brass, like trombone, French horn, baritone. But also she plays piano. And so I played violin from when I was very young.
Okay.
To be different.
How about you, Dad? Jam bands? Like, who would be the quintessential 70s jam bands?
The Grateful Dead would have been there because that was started in '64. Marshall Tucker would be a good one. The Allman Brothers.
Yeah, so the Marshall Tucker Band, but I think now that I'm retired, I'll get into it more. Maybe I'll try to seek some of that out.
Oh man, you might be able to dust those Birkenstocks off after all.
I'm glad I kept them.
If I may also, one jam band that I have specific experience with, like I went to see Fish on New Year's Eve once at Madison Square Garden.
That's a wild Is that the first time you saw them?
Yeah, that's the only time I saw them.
That can ruin the rest of them. That's the big one.
That's enough. It was great. I love. I do like when their songs end, but they're fun, you know.
Yeah.
But then also, when I was in college, I was in an a cappella group called. It was an all-male a cappella group called.
What's the pun?
Hey, now there's no guarantee. It's called Voicemail, and I think it's a good name.
My MALE, please.
So what do you think? Who do you?
You've got mail.
I wish I came up with it, but it was already the name when I got to the school.
It was?
Yeah, when I was in, I believe, Samrat Chakrabarti, the founder of the group, came up with the name. He's an actor. He's in things.
I wonder if Gen Z is probably like, we really hate voicemail. Can you call it something? What is voicemail?
Text mail,
FaceTime.
So in that group, a song that I arranged and did a solo for was a song called "Spine of the Dog." Do you know this song?
I do not.
It's by the band Mo.
Oh, yeah.
I was a big fan of their music at that time.
They're fun. Their
So-
90s stuff early on was a lot of fun.
They came to Brandeis and I saw them there. Yeah.
That was the first
Surprisingly-
jam show I ever went to.
Was Mo?
Yeah, and they did a 40-minute song.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
Ha!
They had
It was just too much. It's too long.
To bring it back to your grandma, they had like greatest hits albums, I believe, called Warts and All.
Wow.
Yeah.
You want to know my grandmother? Her any music that came out after she was born was noise to her.
Oh, really?
Anything with a drum, really. So here I'm gonna give you her the song that I think of as the song that she likes and thinks is music.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if you know this one. It's mares eat oats and does eat oats and little lambs eat ivy. A kiddly divey too, wouldn't you? Now, has anyone here heard that song before?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Do you know what the lyrics of the song are?
No.
It's mares eat oats and does eat oats, and little lambs eat ivy. A kid will eat ivy too, wouldn't you? But it's made to sound like nonsense.
Yeah, it really does.
You think a hippie came up with it?
Linguistics.
Yeah.
Brought it on back.
Ever since.
lava lamp or snow globe?
Both. Do I?
Ooh.
I mean,
that's
I think I'm more likely to have a snow globe, but I think lava lamps are. I know, they're both my children. Yeah.
Dan, lava lamp or snow
Oh,
globe?
lava lamp.
Okay. We're at 412.
Okay.
You want to make the decision?
Let's do it.
3, 2. Oh, wait. Who are we doing first? Because these are going to be different.
Yeah, let's do Myq.
Okay.
First.
Ready?
3,
Do I say also?
2, 1. Hippie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt it. It's interesting though, because on the scale, it wasn't like I had you around the 6 or 7 mark. It wasn't pushing.
Yeah, I have you probably around the same.
Yeah.
About a 7.
But I mean the school, the art school, the going back to teach, tennis. I mean, how far? Mm-hmm. Shane Moss.
Yeah, I'll put you at an 8.
Yeah. Well, but
Come
also
on, let's get up there.
it was also, and I
And
know
you weren't
that,
wearing all black. No.
well, and I know that you love to learn. I know that you're inquisitive and you love to deep dive stuff. But the fact that
Is
you
that
knew
so?
so much of these this Buddhist teaching and historical spiritual teachers, I just kind of tipped me off.
Thank you. Can I do one more?
Okay.
This is just Shunryu Suzuki, who wrote Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. This is one of I read a book of sort of his greatest hits that were shared by
It's called
students.
Warts and Not.
Yeah, none and all. Yeah. A student asked him, "Hey, the classic." They said, "If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound?" And I'll never forget his answer. He said, "It doesn't matter."
All right, Daddy Moss. 3, 2, 1.
Undecided. It's rare that I have this, but I'll be honest, Jim. I'd like to have you on again.
No, I want. We definitely need to deep dive my dad.
Yeah.
I think a little more.
I feel like I need it, but it is
But man, a fucking turquoise shell necklace.
turquoise.
I don't know.
Still holding on to the Birkenstocks.
Yeah, you made me get Birkenstocks.
Oh, this is great.
And I've had a profound effect on your religious beliefs too. So.
Yeah, no, you did cause me to be that asshole atheist for a while. Yeah, if you would have never made me go to confirmation, I would have never learned enough about Christianity to not believe it.
Exactly.
Oh man. Well, Myq, where can people find you?
I'm right here. Thank you. Right here now.
Yeah,
Yeah, here now. Get in the now.
But also, if you want to find another now, final.
I love Myq going, "Whoop, button." I love the fact that it's not, but it could be fart noises.
Yeah.
And you're just going, button.
Fart button.
We got to get that.
So, get a sound of a cricket farting. MyqKaplan.com, MyQ Spell my name that way. Find me on social media. I have a newsletter that comes out for free, or you can subscribe for more at MyqKaplan.substack.com. Mostly, I'm a comedian. Come see me live, find my dates, and also... what's the other? Oh yeah, I've got albums. I made a bunch of comedy albums. They're all on the streaming platforms and such.
And your collaboration books.
Yes, and of course, as already mentioned, Heartbrain Art Train with Ramin Nazer, and my podcast, Broccoli and Ice Cream, The Faucet. So yeah, just wherever you want, put Myq Kaplan in. I have a fan found me one time by searching for a vegan recipe. They were trying to get it. They were trying to find vegan recipes on Pinterest, but they accidentally put it into Spotify, and I came up. So that's put Myq Kaplan in anywhere or vegan recipe.
I like that somebody put that into Spotify and was like, shit, I don't want to cook, but he's really reeled me in the first 20 seconds. Like,
I'm not sure. I think I'm going to eat psychedelics now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you. So, yeah, do some mushrooms, and I'll be there.
Yeah. And you can find Daddy Moss in Spearfish, South Dakota. So.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want you to know where any other ways to contact him.
Yeah. But still sipping the milk?
Not anymore. Almond
milk.
Same.
Huh? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the show tonight, Myq.
Thank you, man. Same.
And you too, Jim.
Hey, thanks.
yeah, he's coming with me to Fort Collins.
Yeah? You doing the comedy for it?
No, don't tell.
Oh, yeah.
I won't.
Man. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, and get on the motherfucking...